Chapter 6 has finally arrived, and thanks to the 0 point, the floodgates of magic have just been opened, with mysterious portals to the spirit realm unleashing dangerous Onis across our new island and a dangerous mask maker resurfacing an ancient war. We have possibly our biggest chapter launch yet. Today, we'll be covering absolutely everything and trying to piece together what the future may hold. So consider using my creator code TLL the Reaper in the item shop if you'd like to support me, and without further ado, let's dive into the spirit realm. To start off, we need to break down how we actually got to the Chapter 6 island, Oninoshima. Just a couple weeks ago, we wrapped up our final days of Remix and experienced the chapter finale event. The entire event ended with the song Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD. When the concert was over, you also had the option to Keep Dreaming, which played a music video of Juice WRLD's new song. But the most interesting part about all of this is that the words Wake Up were originally going to appear at the end of the event when we were floating in the purple tunnel. This implies that Remix was actually a dream. Now, I know I said last video that there was no way this was possible since we saw the Chapter 2 Remix reality in the Big Bang, but there were some inconsistencies and suspicious things throughout Remix that could help back up this dream theory. The first were Hope's voicemails. For some reason, the voicemails Hope was sending to Valeria were playable as giant audio logs scattered across the map. Most of you, I hope, know that voicemails are digital audio messages. They aren't physical logs you can set down on a table. The second thing that was off about Remix was the complete absence of Hope and Jones. My original theory was that we were in a tiny intermission in the Chapter 2 reality while they were sailing across the ocean to a new island. But the Remix finale event confirms they were indeed traveling alongside us, and they did actually go through the rift in the Risky Reels screen. So them not being anywhere on the Chapter 2 island with us does help point to the fact that we were in a dream. The most likely scenario is that when the portal opened up after the prelude event, the looper, which is us, Hope, and Jones all jumped inside. We fell asleep inside the rift, leading to Remix. But at the end of our dream, which coincidentally was Juice WRLD singing Lucid Dreams, we woke up to see Hope and Jones flying beside us. And then we all dove headfirst into the rift, leading straight into reality 783, Chapter 6. Now we've arrived on the Chapter 6 island, which actually has a name for once, Oninoshima. The island is rich with long-forgotten history, Japanese mythology, and loads of magical creatures. But a mysterious comet has flown into Chapter 6 alongside us, reawakening things everyone thought was gone for good. Surprisingly, this chapter is also extremely intertwined with the Fox Clan and the River Syndicate, finally expanding upon tons of lore that was referenced literally years ago back in Chapter 2. So it's time to talk about the deep and complicated history of our magical island Oninoshima, so we can look to the future and figure out what comes next. Let's start with the Mask Makers. A long time ago, Oninoshima was a place full of magic. It was very common and widespread across the lands, and magical creatures, nicknamed sprites, roamed free. But something absolutely terrible happened, banishing it all permanently. To explain this, we have to look to the Fox Clan. This island is actually the origin of both them and the River Syndicate. We were introduced to the Fox Clan back in Chapter 2, when Fortnite's social accounts were taken over by a new character named Vi. She was looking for Drift, because the mask he was given not only associated him with the Fox Clan, but it also made him a target. This storyline ended up being forgotten, but this chapter we actually get a lot of answers that we've been waiting for. Anyway, aside from them, we met the River Syndicate during Chapter 4, Mega, when they rifted into the island alongside the Peace Syndicate. The Fox Clan was present too, so we knew they came from the same place. But it wasn't until Chapter 6 launched that we found out they all came from this island in reality 783. So long ago, these two groups had quite a large presence on the island. They mostly got along, but they did have their issues. The Fox Clan were the pioneers of this magic on the island, using it to create powerful masks which every member of the clan uses. This is actually where all of their rift abilities even come from, the masks. But they weren't the only ones interested in the magic. A family of artisans eventually found out the secret to crafting these magical masks and began doing it themselves. But as the story goes, they grew too ambitious and greedy. They created what many called masks of power, leading to the Shattering War. Not too much is known about the events of this war, but we know the spirit realm was involved. A place full of Onis and demons only accessible through portals. Their portals having been activated, they spilled onto the island, likely making the ongoing conflict with magic and masks even worse. By the end of it, the masks and portals were shattered, magic was completely banished, and the Fox Clan was blamed. Magic was eradicated from the island to make sure something this horrible would never happen again. Since then, the Fox Clan has made lasting peace with the River Syndicate and the rest of the island, even after the creation of their masks inadvertently led to the Shattering War. Everything was fine again, until a couple weeks ago. When Hope, Jones, and us went flying into Reality 783, something else came through. A mysterious object hurtled towards the island, crashing down and reactivating all of the magic on the island, including the spirit realm portals. Now the residents of Oninoshima are experiencing what all of their ancestors did long ago, a magical clash with demons. But that's not all. The descendants of the Maskmaker family that started the Shattering War are here too. Luckily, they're not all evil. These descendants come in the form of 3 siblings, Kendo, Jade, and Dago. Surprisingly, all 3 of them do love and care for each other, but their conflicting goals is where things get complicated. Dago is the eldest sibling, having been given ownership of the family's most important heirloom by his grandfather, their mask-making shop. Luckily, since magic was banished in the Shattering War, Dago and his most recent ancestors haven't been making any masks of power. Instead, the shop was repurposed into a traditional mask shop. But as I'm sure you expected, the recent return of magic completely shifted Dago's plans. He's immediately halted the production of normal masks, telling players in-game that they're completely free since he's done with those. He's now hyper-focused on making masks of power, the sole things that caused the Shattering War. On his outfit, we can find that he's already been restoring a lot of ancient masks of power through the art of kintsugi, which is an old Japanese method of mending broken objects with powdered gold. So with Dago creating masks of power, magic returning to the island, and demons out on the loose, what are Kendo and Jade up to? Well, let's save Kendo for last, because his story directly ties into Hope in her search for the next powerful artifact on the island. Jade is a pretty open book. She's the one with the most knowledge of Oninoshima and its secrets, always wanting to explore and learn more. But now that magic has returned, Jade is on a quest to figure out all she can about the spirit realm and to find out how she can help stop the influx of demons. But like Kendo says, he worries for her safety because her methods are reckless and uncalculated. That leaves us with our final sibling, Kendo. To put it bluntly, he's pretty lost. His whole life he's looked up to the warriors of history and felt like there's some greater purpose awaiting him. He mirrors Hope in this way, since both characters are searching for their identity and what they feel they need to be or live up to. Which, speaking of Hope, both her and Jones are now on the island, located in Hopeful Heights. We discover in our first story quests that Kendo has actually met Hope already, and they are now working together towards a semi-common goal. Kendo wants to help save the island from the demons, and Hope is on the hunt for something in Oninoshima related to Pandora's box. But she believes whatever this is also related to why magic and the demons have reawoken. So them teaming up to get to the bottom of this kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So we've discussed the history of the island, the Shattering War, and all of the current plots in chapter 6. But we actually have a lot more information than you'd expect about what this mysterious object is that Hope and Jones are both looking for. We got a closer look at this object when it flew past us during the live event, and luckily for us, that meant that it was a real model in the files for leakers to dig up, and when they did, they found that this object was labeled 0 Point Shard. This is a massive reveal. The 0 Point was briefly mentioned by Jones in Wrecked, but aside from that, the 0 Point hasn't been a main part of the story for over a year now. After the Big Bang, a lot of people were confused about what exactly this meant for the 0 Point's existence. Did it explode and become the cluster of galaxies we see during downtime? Or is it still intact somewhere, hidden off in deep space? Turns out, it's actually neither. When the Big Bang happened, the 0 Point's outer shell actually shattered into tons of different pieces, presumably spiraling out into the cosmos until they eventually collide with something. In the Chapter 6 cinematic, we can see this happening for the very first time. This 0 Point shard slammed into the map, sending out a shockwave and reawakening the magic that lay dormant for centuries. Somehow, this shard is what Hope is searching for, and why her mission is so closely intertwined with Kendo's. But when looking in game, we can see that the crater of impact is completely empty. If the shard dispersed across the map and isn't there anymore, then how is Hope searching for it? Well, according to her loading screen, in which we can see her painting another one of her prophecies, it seems like there's some remnants of the shard still left across the island somewhere. It's possible that when the main shard was hurtling down to Oninoshima, it actually splintered into different pieces, and that is what we can see here and what her and Jones are searching for. Another quick thing I'd like to know is that during the remix finale event, we could actually look around while traveling realities and see different 0 Point shards flying across the sky. This likely points to the fact that we'll be seeing the consequences of these shards impacting different worlds throughout the course of chapter 6 and maybe into future chapters too. But without hopping too much into a big 0 Point theory, since we'll be saving that for a future video, it's beginning to be very clear that the 0 Point is back in the storyline. So from demons invading the island to mask makers harnessing dark magic and to 0-point shards impacting and changing realities all across the Omniverse, it seems like the residents of Oninoshima should get prepared for some serious disaster. And there you have it. That's the entire Chapter 6 storyline we've got so far going into this new year of lore. My next video will be covering both of the story quests we have so far and even using leaked parts to figure out what the ending of Season 1 will be. With lots of huge stories going on at once, we're in for a very packed chapter for the story. As usual, I'll be here to cover it all, so if you'd like to, it would help me out a lot if you could consider using my creator code TLL the Reaper in the item shop to support me. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, keep it reaping.